All right, Payne and Pendergast with you. The Astros sweep the Orioles this weekend, and in a big way. They outscored them 27-13. Pitching was great. Starting pitching was great, especially Saturday and Sunday. Really, really good. Good to see the bats come alive. So now the Astros are sitting at 2 games under 500 for the first time since early in the season. They are 2 games under 500. They're 6 games back of the Mariners. I believe 4.5 back of the wild card. So they're in this thing. I mean, you still got a week left in June here, and they're playing pretty well. The starting pitching is kind of on skates right now just because you've only got – I don't even, Seth, I want to say 4 reliable starters. I don't know that Spencer Arrighetti qualifies as reliable at this point. It's just
4 guys that are nominally starters at least.
Yeah, there you
right?
go. There you go, yeah.
And Verlander's not going to likely be back by the time they start that Blue Jays series on July 1st when they'll need 5 pitchers going into that series. And I don't want to push Verlander back at this point.
God, no.
So you just need to this offensive resurgence that we've seen as of late. I mean, the bottom of the 6th on Friday was 5 doubles in that inning, 9 runs scored.
Crazy, man.
You know, it was a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways. But then by the same token, in the 7th inning, you see them start to squander a 14-3 lead.
Yeah.
And at one point, I think it was on Friday, the Orioles announcer said, "Houston, you've got a problem." It was
Did he? This is the first I'm hearing of this. Oh.
Yeah. It was. Somebody sent it to me early this morning. It was pretty original by them. They've got World Series caliber announcers.
Pretty bold to do it too in a game where the closest you got was 3 runs. It's not like they cut a 14-3 deficit to 14-11. Okay. First time in a while they've been back in the race these last couple of years. I'm going to cut them some slack.
It was actually refreshing watching a good team play the Astros that I didn't really have any hatred in my heart for.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's like when they're playing the Yankees and the Yankees are doing something good, you get so angry. I never felt that way with the Orioles.
Give it time. They burst back on the scene last year and they won 100 games, but they were a disappointment in the postseason. But if there's a postseason series between these two, gets a little heated, you get a few more Houston, you have a problem or whatever it is.
Well, I'd even go back to 2017 versus the Yankees. I remember thinking, like, you know what? I got to give it to them. The Yankees have a lot of likable guys on that team. I didn't really feel that way, but, yeah, within a couple of years, I wanted them blotted off the earth.
The being better than everybody else scandal amped things up with a lot of teams, I think, for the Astros the last couple of years and kind of the way
Plus,
they were.
Yankees fans throwing a beer bottle at that Astros fan's head while he was just trying to take a whiz. That was part of it, too.
That was not good. So it's funny, people literally last Friday, we put up a poll about the Astros fans and were they up for selling off good players for high-level prospects? Are you in seller mode with the Astros? I think we did it. I think I put it up on Twitter when the deficit hit 10 games against the Mariners. And I said, all right, this is rock bottom. So where are you right now? Are you okay with the Astros trading off big names for good prospects? And in the end, I believe it was 68% of the people said, yes, we are cool with that. 22% said no. 10% said need more time. You were in the need more time crew. Need more time, and I think that's a reasonable answer. Even 10 games back obviously now they're only 6 back now. They've made a lot of headway. Man, they got favors from the Marlins this weekend against the Mariners of all teams. One good weekend of baseball has flipped things around for a lot of people. We go from 68% saying yes, sell, to 23% saying yes, sell. We go from 22% saying no, do not, to more than double, 47% saying no, do not. And then the need more time crew, which this is the most logical one to me, has tripled. It's gone from 10% to 30%. Now people saying, all right, well, now I'm willing to sit back and kind of see how this thing plays out a little bit.
Yeah, and this is, what we'd said all along was, all right, when they were on this stretch of a relatively easy schedule, except you've got the Orioles sitting there right there in the middle of it, what do they do versus the Orioles? It'd be one thing if you came out of that soft schedule with a winning record but got swept by the Orioles or something. That wouldn't feel like a team that was worth making a push for. I feel like the Astros showing up magnificently in a 3-game series versus the Orioles, it's a good reminder that, all right, yeah, on paper, even with all the pitching woes and what have you, on paper, this is a team that should turn it around at some point.
Yeah.
And this very much felt like a team that potentially could have turned the corner. This might be the series you look back to. Like in 2022, it was the series versus the White Sox and the Yankees in the middle of the summer, where you're like, oh, okay, this is where maybe the tide starts to turn. This very much could be that series, which started 2 games prior with Cesar Salazar Day. But still, and, yesterday,
who, by the way, is going to be in our lives for a while here. Caratini's going on the IL.
Yeah.
He's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. It sounds like with the leg injury, probably a contusion.
Cesar Salazar. I don't know if it was before the game was out of hand yesterday. Salazar literally took one on the chin and shook it off. Ball bounced up into his chin, underneath his mask, and nope. First start, he's not leaving.
That ain't knocking out Cesar Salazar. You got to do better
Cesar
than that.
Salazar,
baseball
guy
gods.
that turned everything around for the Astros.
That's it, man. That's it. So yeah, man, it's good to see Bregman. Bregman with 4 hits yesterday. That was nice.
Pena with 4 hits on Saturday and Sunday combined. After taking the day off on Friday was for me one of the more encouraging signs of a potential Astros.
Yeah, he's been terrible at the plate for the last 3 or 4 weeks. You
started when a lot of the old habits were creeping in.
Yeah.
He'd calmed down his swing with less movement, but some of that movement had started to creep back in. But he was chasing sliders like the bad Pena of old. So just that one day off where he could recollect himself seems to have done a world of good.
This probably would have been a better question last week when a majority of Astro fans were ready to start trading off pieces.
Yeah.
Fewer fans are willing to do that now, but it's relevant. There's an article in the New York Post from Joel Sherman, who has covered the Yankees for years. He was actually a prominent part of the documentary I was just talking about earlier, that Bronx Zoo, which, by the way, I'm reminded by a listener, Amy in Upper Kirby, that who I'm married to. Peacock, not Prime. If you want to watch that Yankee documentary, it's on Peacock, not Prime. I said Prime earlier. I'm a mess today. Have I told you the Orioles got swept by the Astros? But this Joel Sherman of the New York Post, he's got one of these articles where he's got his greasy mitts all over Astro assets from over the weekend. Like, hey, Yankee fans, this is why you need to keep rooting against the Astros, because here are the guys that would be great for the Yankees to get their greasy mitts on. And he listened. Yeah. Bregman and Presley are the most prominent, too, which I think is hilarious that the writer for a fan base that I'm assuming they boo Bregman a lot because he was such a cheater back in 2017 that now all of a sudden, you know who they could use? Cheater Alex Bregman. They would love to have him on their team.
They would love to have Bregman, one of the guys that's still most lustily booed. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that's another reason the Astros need to keep winning, just so the Yankees can't get in on some of this stuff.
I mean, if they continue this surge where they've been playing at a plus 600 win percentage clip since May 8th, then there's no way in hell they trade away Bregman, regardless of you think back to various, whether it's Springer, Correa, Garrett Cole, anybody that's left on an expiring contract. The Astros are not in that business if they think they got a shot at it.
Yeah, again, I guess my question was going to be, for those of you, granted a dwindling number of people after the sweep over the weekend, but are you cool with the Astros being a seller just unilaterally, or does it matter to whom they sell?
Yeah.
Like, I would imagine, like, there's probably a lot of people out there that are going that within the last few weeks have said, nope, you got to move on from Bregman. You got to trade Bregman for pieces. Okay, the Yankees are on the phone. Do you still want to trade Bregman? Do you want to watch Alex Bregman in Yankee pinstripes? And again, this is a more relevant question probably last week than this week because the Astros have made a ton of headway in 4 days. But for me, there is a little bit of that. Like, okay, I am a little choosy as to who they do business with. I don't want to watch Alex. There's certain teams I can stomach watching guys on the Astros play for in October that aren't the Astros. The Yankees ain't one of them, man. The Yankees ain't one of them.
No, that would be that feels like one of those ones that's just bad mojo. If no matter what happens, the Astros could lose every game between now and the trade deadline, but to trade away to the Yankees, it just feels it feels dirty.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Someone asking, is it time to reconsider Trevor Bauer?
Oh, gosh, I was just going to ask that, Sean.
Yeah.
That's okay. So listen, Trevor Bauer got a lot of traction this weekend because he had a really good outing in the Mexican League, which a Mexican league where various other former Major League Baseball players who should not be playing Major League Baseball do really, really, really well.
He set a record.
Yeah.
He set a record this weekend.
Yeah.
19 Ks. You want to hear what it sounded like? Here's what it sounded like.
Lanzamiento al plato, swing! ¡Lo consiguió Bauer! ¡Trevor Bauer!
Yeah, that's what it sounded like on the broadcast. It is. That was the play-by-play.
The thing about Trevor Bauer is that he's like almost universally despised.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things with his recent legal troubles, it's very, very easy for me to lump that into the category of, okay, it's still very ugly, and you can call it whatever you want. Like, in my mind, he has not been exonerated from being a dirtbag, like, whatsoever, as a teammate or as a person or through like various legal maneuverings, like not one bit. When you talk about mojo and just like Jose Abreu, who is resoundingly an awesome dude, like universally regarded as an awesome dude, he was still it brought something into that clubhouse that was just affecting the entire team. So now take a guy who's universally regarded as not an awesome dude and bring him into your clubhouse, not to mention where he's publicly lambasted the Astros at various times during his career. No, I've got no appetite for it.
They're not going to do it. Like, this team has never been more desperate for starting pitching than right now. And Brad Bauer's a guy who said he would play for the minimum. So, it's not a financial thing. It's not as though Bauer has all these options that are getting ready to pay him $30 million a year. No, by the way, Major League Baseball has spoken on Bauer. He's pitching in the freaking Mexican League. It's not like he's took a minimum salary with a bad team and he's pitching well, and now they're just looking to flip him like an asset, like he's already in MLB. He's not in MLB. Like, he's not. He's like
right.
Baseball. The Astros. If you're frustrated that the Astros are not going after Trevor Bauer, and Texter, I'm not saying you are. You're just asking the question. But I've seen people that are like, hey man, you got to bury your pride and you need pitching and you got to win and blah blah blah. You know who else isn't signing him right now? The other 29 teams in baseball. Like, the Astros are not an outlier here.
It was like when Earl Thomas was out there at the end of his career after the Ravens as a team had voted to eject him from the team.
Yes.
People were mad at the Texans that they weren't signing Earl Thomas. And my response was always like, okay, you're mad at the Texans for not being like every single other team in the league.
Right.
At that point, we were disgusted with the Texans were trying like hell to not be like every other team in the league, and they couldn't do anything right. But somehow signing Earl Thomas, whose life was in disarray at that moment, likewise, Trevor Bauer's life is in disarray. And you can try to, if you're a sucker for his victim card, good for you, I guess. But you're a sucker. Like, you're a sucker for Trevor Bauer's victimhood card.
Yeah.
Like, of all the guys that don't deserve a victimhood card, it's Trevor Bauer. That's just the flat-out fact of the matter, and there's not another team in baseball right now that's falling for it, so don't be a sucker yourself.
We're late. This is a text message. We're late, we being the Astros, I guess, are late on Trevor Bauer, just like we were late on getting rid of Abreu.
Late on Trevor Bauer?
None of you, you're going to love the rest of this. None of you talking heads have a moral high ground. Bring him in. I hope he sues the league. He should be in the league. He's blacklisted.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I feel awful for him. Yeah, that's just how horrible for poor Trevor Bauer, who's like basically divorced himself from humanity long before any of the legal allegations.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
A text, follow-up text, not from the same texter, but here's another text. Doesn't Bregman hate Bauer? Yes. Everybody hates Bauer.
Everybody hates Bauer.
Everybody hates him. Yeah.
It's not even a matter of moral high ground.
No.
No, he's flat out despised.
Yeah.
He is despised. Late to what? Nobody is signing him. Like, how are the Astros late? If they're in second place, they're still right on time
Yep.
for Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
Late to the party.
Yeah.
He's in Mexico.
The text message.
How are you allowing yourself to be a little slut for Trevor Bauer?
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yes. Astros have a big 10-game road trip coming up, 6-game homestand before the All-Star break. They need to go 10-6.
Late to the party for Trevor Bauer. What the hell does that mean? He's in Mexico.
I don't know. Should have signed him a month ago, I guess. I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
Everybody's late to this party because there
the
is
Trevor
no
Bauer
party.
party is empty.
Yeah.
Nobody's late to the party.
There is
You'll
no
be
party.
the first person there.
There is no party. The first team there is looking around going, I thought there was a party here. The text I just read about they need to go 10-6 over that stretch when the next homestand starts. I'm kind of taking this thing in bite-sized pieces. I'm looking at the next. I think the next 5 games this week is what to look at here because you got 2 against the Rockies and 3 coming up against the Mets. Those are 2 of the worst teams in baseball, right? Like I know the Mets have come on a little bit. The Mets have surged back a little bit. They're not one of the worst teams in baseball anymore, but they're not a good baseball team. The Rockies are awful, and you destroyed them in Mexico City. You know, whatever it was, 2 months ago, something like that. You need to do the same thing again, man. They are. It's a big opportunity this week, man. They've done a good job, the Astros, of setting themselves up for something nice here.
They're late to the party if they don't sign Deshaun Watson.
That's
Get
right.
him in here.
That's
That was
right.
right. Look at the Browns. They did it. You know, they went out on a limb and they signed Deshaun Watson, and it's worked out brilliantly for them.
Yep.
They were not late to the party on Deshaun Watson.
No,
were they? Yeah.
All right. Payne and Pendergast with you. Let's do some acknowledgement. We got a lot of acknowledgments to get to this week. We acknowledge big performances from over the weekend. We acknowledge big news from over the weekend. We got some Astros mixed in here, so this is an easy segue. Let's start with, let's explain the segment for those that are new. We're going to read names here. After each of these names, Ben plays Roman Reigns. Seth Payne's possible former teammate with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Roman Reigns, back in 2007. Screaming, acknowledge me. And then we'll lay out why exactly they're being acknowledged. Ronel Blanco. Ben,
Acknowledge me.
Respect Ronel Blanco.
Respect him, Ben.
Respect him. You will respect Ronel Blanco. He should be in the All-Star game. And they were making a big deal out of that on the broadcast over the weekend, as they should. It's the Astros broadcast. But he is in the top 3 right now in ERA in the American League.
Yeah.
In the end, I honestly think, like, if we're just doing if we're doing the sort of the story of Ronel Blanco's season so far, in a weird way, the suspension to me for the sticky stuff inside his glove actually becomes a bit of a validator for me because he's come back from it and he's pitched practically every bit as good as he pitched before he got suspended for the sticky stuff. You know, it was kind of proof like, okay, here's this guy who all of a sudden is this amazing starting pitcher. It's almost kind of like proof like, hey, man, they suspended him for that, but he's come back from that, and he gets checked out every time, and he sweats his ass off, and he's still out there tossing 7 innings of 1-run ball against the best offensive team in baseball.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody in baseball, and remember the pitchers are selected by the managers of the All-Star team, that I don't think anybody in baseball probably batted an eyelash at that whole scenario or situation. So it was kind of refreshing that it didn't become some kind of big controversy around baseball itself because it was the Astros that it happened to. It was just the unfortunate situation. That's all it was. Yeah, I don't think that'll harm him one bit.
The main thing for him is he doesn't have a reputation yet. As far as like All-Star, like he doesn't have the pelts on the wall. Like when they pick the All-Star staff, it's probably going to go to guys who've been brand names a little longer. And maybe there's a spot for him. Even with that, he deserves to be there. And I love the fact that in the last week, 2 of these guys, Hunter Brown and Ronel Blanco, have been in, I'll call them playoff type matchups. I'm not saying the Tigers are a playoff team, but Tariq Skubal is an ace level pitcher, no doubt about that. He's the favorite for the Cy Young right now in the American League. I think it's really cool that you have 2 of your least experienced guys Blanco against Corbin Burns being the other one on Saturday in these pitchers' duels, and they came out not just on top, but like noticeably on top. Like they were clearly the better pitcher in both of these games.
Yeah,
it was cool.
It's boy, Bloss. I wonder what'll happen with Bloss. So Bloss didn't seem to think his issue was much at all. It was just a little bit of soreness or what have you. And we know with the Astros, when you hear discomfort or soreness, that it can sometimes blossom into much, much more. This one seems to be real, that it's not necessarily a big deal. And I would say Bloss too. Like Bloss had bad luck on his first two hits he allowed in that first inning. First one just caromed off his own glove when he tried to swipe up at it. So he just allowed soft contact the entire time. It'll be interesting to see. I'm saying interesting. It's kind of like deathly important that that perhaps he comes back quickly and healthy and is some kind of prodigy.
Yep. Okay. Alex Bregman had a good weekend, but right here I'm going to acknowledge Knox Bregman.
Acknowledge me.
That is Alex Bregman's almost 2-year-old son, who is well on his way to being a prodigy. Take a listen. Got a couple Bregman cuts here. You're going to hear a little voice in the background at the beginning of this answer to the question, was the energy a little bit different today? This is following yesterday's game.
Joe talked about a different energy, attention to detail. How do those things sort of manifest themselves?
No, it was great attention to detail all series long. I thought the guys showed up every single day. And when we compete like that, we know what we're capable of, and just super proud of the guys.
So you heard at the beginning of that cut, I mean, it's just a generic answer. Good answer, Alex. You heard, Dad, Dad. So kind of milling around next to Bregman's leg there, walking around in the media session, was Knox Bregman, Alex's son, who's almost 2 years old. On the next question, Knox Bregman goes into full hijack mode, and he is on brand for being a Bregman.
What can you say about that first inning, the way y'all just kind of attacked and were able to jump on them early?
Well, I think it starts with Framber coming out and giving us a 0, and then Altuve. It starts with Framber. What?
The gate.
Yeah, we're going to go to the cage. Framber started it for us big time today, and then after that, Altuve set the tone with the homer, and then everybody else just passed the torch all game long. It was really good, and thought we swung the bat really well.
When's the last time that somebody else pushed you to go to the cage?
Now he's been begging all weekend. He wants to go to the cage and the dugout, so we're going to take him to the dugout and the cage. Dugout? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Knox Bregman still hasn't said mom yet. Those are his first words.
Cage
Dada, cage, and dugout.
Dude,
yeah.
I mean, this, somewhere Marv Marinovich is smiling right now. Like,
yeah, Earl Woods is
that's
like
parenting
looking down.
right there. Earl Woods. Absolutely. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah.
I could see this being more of a Earl Woods type of scenario where it's like, like the son is hungry for it. It's not like some Marinovich was a father forcing himself on his son and making him do all this stuff. Where with Earl and Tiger Woods, it was very much Tiger was eager for it.
Yeah.
And, it was the interpersonal side of everything, whatever. But as far as like actually cultivating somebody who's passionate about it, I feel like Alex... Knox was probably born into the right family. He's going to have a very good resource for him as he's hungry to get to the cage.
He's not making him bring his own birthday cake to parties. Remember Marv Marinovich did that? Like Todd Marinovich had to bring his own. He wasn't allowed to eat Big Macs. Stuff. Come on, man. Let the kid be a kid. I'm talking to Marinovich, not you, Alex Bregman. I think you're doing a hell of a job.